Thank you so much. And I did actually accidentally skip a session. I didn't. I thought maybe Dr. Caldicott was otherwise engaged, but he's ready to come back, and he'll be joined by Dr. Jeffrey Hergenrather, and they are doing a session, really. Around supporting Australian doctors via the Australian chapter of Cannabis Clinicians. So this will also be feedback on the first ever Australian medicinal cannabis course. So please welcome Dr. Caldicott and Dr. Hergenrather again.
Do you want to go first and do a little bit about the...
Sure.
I don't mind.
All right.
Or I can go first. Do you want to toss first? I'll go first. I'll see if I can drive this thing, because you all know that I'm a feckin' Luddite. I'm excited. I've got Master Yoda here with me again. So, I'm like an Irish kid in a distillery. Those of you, look, you're all, the numbers are petering out, Lucy. Everybody's falling asleep. Is this the last session? Lovely, good. So those of you who were around on Thursday, some of you may have come to our course. We ran a course. Because everybody's telling us that everything is about education. And I completely agree. From a medical perspective, there's a lot of people in the room who already know a lot, and you might think it's just dumb, but as a species, we're kind of dumb. So the medical profession does need education, and it receives education best from its own. It doesn't take instruction very well from others. There's a T-shirt for people who work in an animal laboratory in the United States, which says, "Does not play well with others," and that's our medical profession. So if we're going to do medical education, it needs to come from us. So this is a little bit about the course that we ran. Some of you were there. I'll just tell you a little bit about what we did. It's an Australian course for an Australian provider. The background to it was I wrote it because Lucy told me to, and I just do what she says because she terrifies me. The reality is that a long time ago we assumed, longer than the legislation's been in place, we just assumed that medical cannabis was going to be a thing. And that rather than getting into the bickering and the nastiness that has been the trademark of the clinical trials in Australia, we would look at what would be required for infrastructure. And that was easy because nobody else had identified that as possibly being a problem in the future. There are courses out there. Many of them are based overseas in particular jurisdictions who educate to a particular way of practicing medicine. And it was really important that we were going to get Australian doctors on side, that it was written locally. We do have the colleges, well actually College Singular on side, Bastion is on side. And so we are very close to getting a formal recognition from the College of GPs for clinical points for education, which will be a major breakthrough for us. Stop it now. Stop it. I'll take that as a given. And the other element of this course is that because this is, my friends from Israel keep telling me how little they know. Jesus, they must think I'm as stupid as a plank compared to them. But it's very important. This is evolving so fast that it has to be updated in perspective and moving really quickly with the field. So our aim is to use people like yourselves to keep us advised of any new data. And then those people who do the course, they've registered, we'll be sending out information to them so that they continually being updated. I think, sadly, we need to focus on the indications at the moment for which cannabis is likely to be prescribed in Australia. That's more to reassure our medical colleagues. The indications where it actually works are probably an order of magnitude greater, but that would greatly lengthen the course. The modules are written. So we delivered 10 modules yesterday. We have 20 modules and more being written at the moment. So we're ready for Australia when Australia is ready for us. The two modules that we delivered, or the types of modules that we delivered yesterday, were one section on basic modules. I think this is important, particularly for patients and people who are looking for prescription, that you understand what we're trying to teach, so that when the time comes, you know what questions to ask, you know what they're likely to know. The basic module, one of the things that we thought was very important was that people understood that your country was actually founded on hemp, and that it's nothing to be scared of because it's always been here. So we go into some detail into the social history, the endocannabinoid system, the physiology thereof, the cannabis plant itself, the pharmacology of cannabis and the cannabinoids, the delivery and the dosage itself. And then the clinical modules, which we've included in the pilot course, was for cancer and palliative care, severe and intractable seizure disorder. We included pain. We included pain because of Dr. Hergenrather, because in his experience, that's by a country mile the thing globally that everybody's using it for. Bizarrely, and I don't know, you're going to have to come to terms with why it's not being used in Australia or not being advised in Australia for that. I can't wait to see the guidances. There will be a howl of fury if it's not included in those guidances. If any of you are involved in the writing thereof, pass that on from me, because that's the most common indication. Cannabis use disorders we've included, more or less to debunk the association with harm from medical cannabis as opposed to recreational cannabis. We didn't actually get around to delivering the special groups of users, which is to do with pregnancy, to do with the elderly, and to do with the very young. And we included an extra element on the medical legal aspects as well. I am too dumb to make money out of anything. And the same, well, no, Lucy actually is incredibly cunning, but that's not really what we're about. So the idea was that we would license it under Creative Commons. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can license the course. If you want to use any, the material is widely available and free to everybody. They need to attribute where it came from. You can't use it to make money. And I think that's why nobody's going to use it, because there's a lot of people in the space who want to make money. If you use any of our material, you also have to agree to share it on the same basis. You share it widely, it gets attributed, and you can't make any money out of it. So that's where we're coming from. And it was very much designed to be a shared experience. And that was, I have to say, well, it was fun, considering the players involved. You know, we had some incredibly conservative medical professionals and some people who could barely stand because of the levels of THC in their system. And it was hilarious. I loved every moment of it. And the net goal in the end is to try to bring tribes together. That's essentially what it is. You've got a tribe of medicine. They wear long gowns and they're immaculately groomed and they know nothing. And you have a tribe of Morlocks that live underground and contain all the knowledge. And they have to come together at some stage in the same room. And they have to share information. And people were talking and chatting, and there wasn't much fornication yet, but as the course rolls out, we can breed a brundlefly. It's definitely not a definitive guide to the field because, as we all know, nobody knows anything about this. It's not a commercial enterprise. It's not a platform for any agenda for anyone at all. And this is really important in Australia because I know that there are courses in development now which are being developed for the purposes of advancing a given political imperative. And I'm very fortunate to be at the ANU where that is verboten. We are independent, we are scientific, we are medical, and we are not affiliated. So this is a very simple assessment of where we got to. I kind of thought maybe half a dozen people would turn up and we'd just sit around and chat for a bit. And we had to change venue a couple of times. So was it 70 odd that came up, something like that? 94. Fuck off. What? 90? I thought it got steamy at the end there. Okay, so 90, yeah. All the information that I have is of the people who actually filled out the survey. And all right, grand. So there are diehards and blowhards who skived their way in, obviously, yeah. The majority of people who replied to the survey, and this is the survey data that I want to share with you, were medical professionals. And I think that's probably because there's a degree of familiarity. When you go and do a course as a medical, you get, and you know, yeah, I know what that is. And of course, the people who aren't part of the medical profession were like, you're going to monitor me through this. So, you know, there was an overrepresentation of medical people, but you don't get this sort of feedback. And I'm not really sure how, those of you who know me well know that I'm actually an embarrassingly modest person. I overcompensate. And so just to explain, oh, Jesus, I told you I didn't know how to do this. Is it the green laser thing? Or maybe it's the green laser thing. Does that work? No, don't need that. So simple Likert scales. This is just a Mikey-likey score, okay? So from 0 to 10, to what degree did the basic science module meet your learning needs? And we get 9s. I've never had 9s. Nobody's ever given me 9s. I'm moved. To what degree was it useful to your practice? We get 9s. To what degree did the clinical module meet your learning needs? The special group of patients, we actually didn't do that, and it still achieved its target. No. That's an artifact. I'm the first to say that's an artifact of the way that. So 3 people just put in just a big circle for 10, and I'm trying to be scrupulously honest. So that's 3 out of 3 people who filled the survey wrongly gave us 10 out of 10 for a lecture that didn't occur, and I'm very grateful because it really was worth it when we get round to delivering it. You can have that lecture, of course you can. And was it useful to your practice? Now, I'm going to say here, and that's got nothing to do with an Irish accent or sideburns. That has got a lot to do with the nature of the subject matter. That is purely a reflection of just how much interest. People are happy when they're being taught something that they want to learn about. And this proves the demand that is out there. And I'm delighted to be involved in this space, particularly with Lucy and United in Compassion, because they affiliate and align tremendously with my beliefs socially in this space. So there's a whole bunch of other things. It's like I'm a crap typist, and that's all I had to enter the data. But on the reverse sheet, there's like all of how it could be better, how it could be changed, what we should include, what other modules are wanted. And what I'll do is I'll type that all up over the next few weeks, and we'll get it posted up on United in Compassion, because there's some really, really good ideas which hadn't even occurred to me. And this whole process also allows us to meet the criteria, the additional criteria, to get college recognition. Generally, the descriptive data was very positive and superb suggestions for further aspects. So where to from now? Do it again. Fuck it, do it again right now. Absolutely delighted to do it again. So the idea really, I suppose, we've actually had formal invites now from South Australia and Queensland, and you just can't stop me. We'll bring the road show, and what we want to do is wherever we go, if you think that, and if it's probably best based around GP practices who have resources and setups that can do this, but if you know of people who would be sympathetic and you want us there, we will go. And we will come to whoever wants us, because it's great fun. We will also engage with the local community of patients and providers, the crazy providers, the mountain gnomes who know a lot, because they need to be in there as well. This is a meeting place for the medical and the people who know stuff. And we want to use this as a meeting place for all around the country and go back and make sure that people understand. It's an immunization. It's stress inoculation for the medical profession. We're letting them relax about this subject matter. Perhaps the most exciting element of this, I think, is we hope to use this as a format where we can build a faculty for a local chapter of the Society of Cannabis Clinicians, of whom our future president is with us.
Okay, thank you, David. You know, we're going arm in arm or shoulder to shoulder in this deal together, and when I think of the teaching that we offer to the docs in the United States, we're getting together on a regular basis. We're having these quarterly meetings where we put up the most important topical speakers that we can find worldwide, and it's very useful for us to all stay on the same page. I really appreciated that we heard from Sebastian Seidel today about new and emerging treatments. The reason I say that in particular is people love to get the basic science and understand how this works, but they also love to hear some of the anecdotes, some of the tales about how this is working for people. And I think this is extremely important to be able to go forward with understanding how it's working for various things. when you're looking at these special groups, the children, for example, or the pregnant women, or nursing moms, or elderly, yes, these anecdotes are very important to be able to present to our colleagues so they have a pretty good idea of what's going on and how to use the cannabis medicine. It concerns me a little bit when I hear about the millions of donation dollars that come into the university to try to discover the most, I guess the risks and benefits of cannabis, or however it might be worded. I did see a paper that was published just within the last year about neuroimaging in the way that Dr. Greg Gerdeman was talking about yesterday, where we're looking at these extremely small areas of the brain and suggesting that there may be harm from cannabis use. When we look at cannabis, we're looking at a molecule, or a collection of molecules that activate cannabinoid receptors that have a role in bringing us back home and relaxing us and slowing us down a bit. This is what it's supposed to do. So to be able to finally discover a little something here or a little something there, that's expected, and it's not harmful. And to be able to look at this information without a jaundiced eye and say, aha, we've got damage here now. This is a problem to waste our money in that fashion. I'd much rather see you spend some money in doing some clinical trials and looking at the way that it's working for autism, or working for pain management, or any number of other things where we can share these stories about how it is working in a good way, and not try to focus too much on just the negative consequences, as we have done in the United States for decades, wasting millions and millions of dollars, in my opinion, which has gone actually to our favor, because a lot of the money that has gone into cannabinoid research in order to show harm has actually discovered that, well, it wasn't actually so harmful after all. So it has worked for us in our favor. So going forward, whether we call it the Society of Cannabis Clinicians or the Australia clinicians or whatever, the docs are working together, and we really look forward to this opportunity to have a group of docs here in Australia that we can be collaborating with and sharing information with and doing studies with together. I think going forward, we really look forward to the opportunity to have some sort of standardized reporting of our cases. And this is not as simple as it sounds. I made a proposal in 2005 at a conference of a health questionnaire intake form. And it seemed like, hey, everybody could do this, and we'd have a nice way to follow along patients and the conditions they have, and have some basis for record keeping. Well, herding cats comes to mind. It just didn't work out that way. But we really could be using some standardized reporting forms so that we can follow the results of cannabis use in many, many different conditions. And it is complex, and I think we have to work together in order to find clever ways of being able to gather data so that we can be better informed about what we are doing. So another thing about our Society of Cannabis Clinicians that I think will play well here in Australia is what we call our physician referral service. And that would mean that docs that are joining the organization and have some experience, where they can fill out a little bit of a form and say, okay, I'm a GP or whatever doctor that I might be, a neurologist, for example, they can be seen as on a map. So you go to the map for Melbourne, or you go to the map for Brisbane or wherever, and you can find the docs that are actually comfortable doing cannabis recommendations, and get a little bit of a bio on them to understand the nature of their practice and the contact information.
You might not be aware that that's actually, for doctors in Australia to advertise their services is illegal. But it's not illegal for doctors to put their name on a map if they belong to another society that happens to be associated with a given clinical condition.
Hooray. Thank you. So we just are looking forward to going along with Australia in this new relationship. And I don't have a lot more to say about it than that.
Thank you. Give me a hug.